Beers with Chad.
Hey everybody, what is up? Chad Wesley Smith here. Welcome back. Welcome back to me to doing Beers with Chad podcast. It's been a couple weeks, maybe even a couple months. So apologies about that. Happy New Year. Cheers to all you fine folks on the beginning of 2019. Since I'm fairly hungover from New Year's Eve festivities last night, all I could handle right now is a Trumer Pils from Berkeley, California. So let's go ahead and hop right into it. What have I been doing? Where have I been the last few months? Why haven't I been making the podcast? That's for a couple reasons. Main reasons, we're doing a lot of work, doing things that are designed to help you, people who want to get stronger and lift weights more better. So worked on the powerlifting program design manual. If you haven't checked that out and you want to know, not quite a paint by numbers, but definitely a step-by-step systematic approach to program design, go on JTS Strength, check that out, as well as doing a lot of work on the Juggernaut AI system, working with co-creator Garrett Blevins, working with our app development team to get the mobile app ready for a March release. So just, maybe about 2.5 short months away, 10 to 12 weeks away right now from getting that mobile app out there. Also been training a lot, training some under the Juggernaut AI system, training a ton of jujitsu, maybe 8 to 12 hours a week of jujitsu, as well as losing 30 pounds since October using the RP Diet app. So pretty proud of myself there. In regards to my lifting training, I'll talk a little bit more about that in a future episode and what's going on and what I'm doing there. So that's what I've been up to. That's why I haven't been making Beers with Chad episodes. But what you should look forward to in 2019 in regards to Beers with Chad are at least 2 episodes every week, a mix of stuff like this, me sitting in front of the camera talking to you about whatever interests me, to be honest. But that might be lifting, that might be football, MMA, business, lifting culture, gossipy type of shit. What podcasts I'm listening to, what books I'm reading, what movies I've liked, or interviewing people. If you haven't checked out previous interviews I've done with folks like Miles Burris, who's a NFL linebacker turned actor, or Dean Tompkins, the founder of Thunder King Coffee, have upcoming episodes I've already recorded with Matt Vincent, with 2016 Olympian in the shot put Nick Scarvelis, and there's going to be a ton of traveling content. I have a lot of seminars booked across the United States this year, starting in just a few weeks in Oakland, California. So I'm going to be trying to get to different breweries up there, connect with people in those local communities, whether it's talking to lifters and coaches, or it's talking to business people, or whoever it may be. A lot of travel content coming up. Definitely ones that I'm excited about making a lot of cool content with will be my April events, my April powerlifting seminars in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where I'll get to connect with Roberto Alencar Tusa, who is the jiu-jitsu coach for John Jones. He is someone that I got to do some work with in the strength and conditioning during his more competitive part of his jiu-jitsu career. Hopefully, maybe get to meet John Jones, maybe have him on an episode. Hoping to get out to the BMF Ranch with Donald Cowboy Cerrone. I think that's going to be a fun one. I got trips to Texas planned to train jiu-jitsu, to compete, to drink beer and Tito's vodka and eat barbecue and do all that kind of fun stuff. We're going to be in March in Georgia, recording episodes in Atlanta and Athens, doing a seminar at Core Blend with multiple-time Olympian Reese Hoffa. So be on the lookout for that. So excited about 2019, excited about growing the Beers with Chad brand. And what I want to talk to you about today is the NFL playoffs. This weekend we kick off with the wild card weekend. So before we get into that, let's take a look at my pre-season picks You can see there on the screen, I had in the NFC, the Rams, Eagles, Vikings, Falcons, Saints, and Packers going. 3 for 6 there. I think, almost everyone was picking Vikings and Falcons after the great seasons that they had last year. The Vikings and Falcons probably two along with the Steelers, and I'll talk about them in a minute, biggest disappointments of the 2018 NFL season. The Falcons just couldn't stay healthy, and the Vikings just couldn't perform up to expectations. But the Rams was almost dead on there. The Packers were disappointing for sure, and then the Saints going to be a bit higher. But hopping over to the AFC, Patriots, Chargers, Texans, Steelers, Chiefs, Jaguars. So 4 of the 6 teams I got correctly there, even with some dead-on record predictions like my preseason AFC Super Bowl pick, the Texans, who are 3rd place with an 11-5 record. The Steelers, one of the most talented teams, to not make the playoffs. The Jaguars took a big step back this year. So here we have the real NFC or NFL playoff outlook. The teams in italics are the ones that I picked correctly. The Bears had an outstanding season, making that big move with Khalil Mack. The Seahawks was a team that I thought was going to be very down this year, and I think that Pete Carroll, what makes Pete Carroll effective as a motivator, and why it works so exceptionally well in college, is that he got a new batch of guys. He got 15 to 20 new recruits coming in every year, but every 3 to 5 years had an entirely new group to work with. And I've seen players talk about guys like Richard Sherman and Michael Bennett talk about how his shtick kind of wears thin. But if you're getting new people every 3 to 5 years, it might not have time to wear thin on them. So where they have this huge overhaul of the roster this year, I think he was able to get these young, fresh guys in there who really responded to what Pete Carroll is putting out there. The Eagles sneaking into the playoffs, we'll talk about them a bit more. And the Cowboys, I was not expecting, though I was rooting for the Cowboys to make the playoffs the whole year, I was not expecting them to do so in what I thought was going to be a much tougher NFC East, though they did get 2 teams into the playoffs. I thought the Giants were going to take a big step forward. They didn't. I thought the Redskins were going to take a big step forward. They didn't, and obviously Alex Smith's injury, was a big contributor to that. On the AFC side of things, again, picked 4 of the 6 teams correctly, got the Texans right on their record. The Chargers ended up even being a little bit better than I thought. Chiefs and Chargers, the AFC West, the top of the AFC West was incredible. The Patriots, be a very interesting team to see. The Ravens, I did not expect to make it. Not that they weren't going to be a good team. I just thought the Steelers were really going to be a standout team this year, as did many, and they weren't. And then the Colts and Sir Andrew Luck sneaking in there at number 6. So let's take a look at the NFC wildcard matchups. Starting with Saturday's game, the number 5 Seahawks at the number 4 Cowboys. They played in week 3. The Seahawks won 24-13 in Seattle. Cowboys, small favorites, 1.5 point favorites. So typically a home team is getting the 3 points for just being the home team. So, the odds makers in Vegas definitely think that the Seahawks are on a neutral field, probably a better team than the Cowboys. But the Cowboys have played well at home. Both teams won 4 of their last 5. Now, I'm not putting a ton of stock in that 24-13 victory by the Seahawks in week 3. Week 3 of the NFL season was a very long time ago, and the Cowboys are certainly not the same team right now that they were then. And I think the two biggest reasons of that are the emergence of Leighton Vander Esch as one of the best linebackers in the NFL, and of course the addition of Amari Cooper through that trade. So Amari Cooper is going to be the really big difference here. They've gone 7-2 since adding him to the team. He gives Dak a real number 1 threat at wide receiver, which they just didn't have in week 3. They had a bunch of maybe number 2 receivers, but more like a bunch of number 3 receivers back in week 3. So the offense has the ability to be much more explosive at times. Now, if Dak can do that is, still a question mark. So if we were looking at the 2 most significant things that seem to make NFL teams successful, particularly in the playoffs, it's your quarterback and your coach. And in that, I would give Seattle the edge on both. Russell Wilson, certainly a better quarterback than Dak Prescott, and Pete Carroll, certainly a better coach than Jason Garrett. But basically every other part of things, I would give the Cowboys the edge. They have better offensive and defensive lines, better linebackers, better running back, better wide receivers. Their young secondary has played really well. So I think if the very, very athletic linebacking core of Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch, they can spy Russell Wilson, they can stop him from getting loose and making those 15, 20-yard runs, especially on a 3rd and long situation, and he picks up those first downs and just kills the spirit of a defense with those. I think those young athletic linebackers can take care of that, and I'm picking a close game, Cowboys 24, Seahawks 21. In the other NFC game, and maybe the toughest game, most exciting game of the weekend, is the number 6 Eagles at the number 3 Bears. Bears are 6-point favorites here, which I was pretty surprised to see such a big line there, especially when you think that the Eagles, of all the teams, they had to win their way into the playoffs. They had to play well late, and they did so. The Eagles are the defending Super Bowl champions. At the beginning of the year, or through last offseason and at the beginning of this year, everyone was thinking, man, if there's a team that can repeat, it's the Eagles, because they won the Super Bowl, and then on paper, they got even better, adding people like Michael Bennett, then during the season, Golden Tate, added a lot of talent to their team. And it seems eerily familiar that last year, Nick Foles comes along for an injured Carson Wentz, and he gets hot in the playoffs, and they get after the quarterback, with Fletcher Cox and Bennett and all the great pass rushers they have, and they make a run. Now the Bears, great defense, best defense in the NFL, hit or miss on offense. I don't know that I trust Mitch Trubisky to go in and lead a big playoff run, but they've got talent around him. They can spread the ball around. Tariq Cohen, Jordan Howard, solid group of wide receivers and tight ends. I think Tariq Cohen makes a big difference in this game. I think the Bears defense makes plays led by Khalil Mack. But if it becomes a higher scoring game, Philly specials start going on, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see the Eagles win this game. But I'm going to go with the Bears 21-17. Moving over to the AFC side of things. Saturday's wild card matchup is the number 6 Colts versus the number 3 Texans. Texans favored by 2 at home. Again, that's showing that Vegas thinks the Colts are a little bit better than the Texans, because 3 points is typically what a home team is getting just for being at home. They split the season series. The Colts won a couple weeks ago, and the Colts definitely seem to have improved more throughout the season than the Texans. The Texans went on, they started off 0-3 and then went on, a 9-game win streak, which was one of the less impressive 9-game win streaks I think that you could have. But if you're looking at the rosters, the Texans have more talent. They've got Deshaun Watson, a great quarterback, battling Andrew Luck, who's had a fantastic comeback season. They've got incredible wide receiver in DeAndre Hopkins. But I think the matchup that wins the day for the Texans here is their pass rush versus the Colts' young but very talented, led by rookie Quentin Nelson, offensive line. If J.J. Watt, Jadeveon Clowney can get after Andrew Luck, do their thing, that's going to be a win for the Texans. Now on the other side of things, the Colts defense is number 1 scoring defense in the NFL since week 7, and the Texans offensive line is without a doubt the worst offensive line in the playoffs, if not one of the worst offensive lines in the entire NFL. As a former offensive lineman myself, I'm reticent to pick against a team with such a bad position group in the most critical of position groups outside of the quarterback. But I'm going to do it anyways. 3 weeks into the year, when my AFC Super Bowl pick, the Houston Texans, were 0-3, man, I was feeling bad about myself, and then I got kind of up high and mighty over the next few months as they went on that long winning streak. So I'm going to ride with the Texans here, 28-24, exciting game over the Colts. on Saturday in the AFC. And then on Sunday's AFC wildcard matchup, it's going to be number 5 LA Chargers, who practice just down the street from me here in Costa Mesa, versus the number 3 Baltimore Ravens. Ravens favored by 2. Just a couple weeks ago, week 16, the Ravens went to LA and won 22-10 in a game that the Chargers just did not look very good. I do think that playing twice in such a short time span should favor the Chargers. That one of the big advantages that the Ravens have had the last several weeks with the emergence of Lamar Jackson, as he's gone 6-1 as a starter and had a rookie season beyond, I think, anyone's expectations, certainly beyond my own, is that their offense is so unique in some of like the wing T concepts that they're using, is that teams can't prepare for it well. But now that they're playing the Chargers for the second time in just 3 weeks, the Chargers should know what to expect. How much new stuff could the Ravens have put in with a rookie quarterback like Lamar Jackson in just 2 weeks? Probably not a ton. I thought Phillip Rivers played one of his worst games of the season against the Ravens. Didn't look that much better in week 17, to be honest, but I think the Chargers are healthier. Where Melvin Gordon's ankle is a little bit banged up coming off the game with the Broncos, but Keenan Allen, who went out early in that Ravens game, he'll be back. Melvin Gordon is expected to play. And the Chargers have been better on the road this year than they have in their very odd home field advantage, playing in front of 25,000 people at the StubHub Center, 25,000 people who are often fans of the other team. So I know the Chargers feel good about going on the road. And I think if you were to take all of the AFC playoff teams and say this is this team's ceiling, when they play their best, this is how good they are. The Chargers' best, I think, is better than any of the other AFC playoff teams' best. Now, if they actually play to their best is a much different question, but I do think that playing, twice in such a short time span does favor the Chargers. I don't expect Phillip Rivers to play as poorly as he did that week, to miss open throws, to turn the ball over like that. Really have experience versus youth at the quarterback position here. And I'm picking Chargers 17, Ravens 14. Chargers just have too many good players all over the field. Hall of Fame quarterback, great running back, 3 good wide receivers, and can get after the passer with Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram. So Chargers 17, Ravens 14, and they'll be moving on there. So that is my wild card weekend preview, Beers with Chad. If you're interested in coming to any of my powerlifting clinics in just 3 weeks, on January 19th and 20th, I'll be at Max's Gym in Oakland, California. February, Salt Lake City. March, Athens, Georgia. April, Albuquerque, New Mexico. May, Indianapolis, Indiana. June, Long Island, New York, with a couple other events to come later in the year in Southern California, in Boston, in Texas, and then looks like in November, headed down to Brazil to talk about lifting, to talk about strength and conditioning for jiu-jitsu, to train jiu-jitsu, just to have a really good time. So excited for that. Also check out the Juggernaut AI Coaching, my newest book, Powerlifting Program Design Manual. Subscribe to the channel, leave me a 5-star review on iTunes. Really appreciate that, and it'll help more people find the show. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.